call the CEC calendar meeting for August 2022 to order. I will now resume recording. So the meeting is now being recorded. I will take roll call attendance. Steve Stowe, President, is here. Jen Hugh, Vice President, is excused. Elizabeth
Here.
Thank you. Vito Labella, Recording Secretary, is excused. Marie Brugueras, Treasurer.
Present.
Liping Zhang.
Here.
Joyce Shi.
Here.
Gada Amin.
Here.
Yona Isufi.
Here.
Maya Rosenblatt.
Sorry, here.
See if you unmute.
Thank you, thank you, Liping. As those heard me say in the business meeting, I have taken over the administrative assistant role, and I messed up. I was not able to get the interpreters for this meeting. So I apologize to all of the Arabic and Spanish and Mandarin speaking members of the council and attending the meeting. I've taken steps to make sure that won't happen again. And the other administrative items for tonight, we will have a public speaking session, as we do at every meeting, at every calendar meeting. And I will just post the link to the sign up form for that into the chat now. If you would like to speak during the public speaking portion of our meeting, you can use the following link. We will also be calling on members if you are calling on meeting attendees if you post your name in the chat during the public speaking session. And then finally, if you've called in using your phone, you can press *9 when it's time for public comment, and one of us will unmute your line. Okay. Okay. I will just take a minute and go over the agenda for the meeting tonight. So everyone should see the agenda for the calendar meeting. We will first approve the July calendar meeting minutes. Then we will have a report from, in place of the district superintendent, we have Deputy Superintendent Dr. Joseph O'Brien with us. In between his report and my report, we will also have a member of the UFT here who is going to provide a few comments. Then I will provide my report. Then we will have a discussion and approval of the CEC's budget, not the DOE budget, but just the CEC budget. That will come next. That will, and then we will have our public speaking session. And then we will have a vote on proposed CEC bylaw reforms. And that is the calendar meeting agenda. Let me just get back to Zoom. Okay. So without any further, let's get to the approval of the minutes from last month. I will now post those. share my screen. Okay, everyone should now see the minutes from July, the calendar meeting. Please review them, and if there are any changes, please make them known. Any changes to the calendar meeting minutes from July? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Okay. First order of business is a report from Deputy Superintendent Dr. Joseph O'Brien. Dr. O'Brien.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, President Stowe.
Sure, and let me pull up. You emailed me something, right?
Yes, but now we're going to do that at the closing.
Okay.
We have quite a few updates. Thank you. So, good evening, everyone. It's great to see you all. My name is Joseph O'Brien. I'm the Deputy Community Superintendent, filling in tonight for Dr. David Preto, who is unavailable to be here. With regard to the superintendent's report, he has asked me to share the following important items. With regard to gifted and talented, the review process, schools and teachers who nominated students and parents applied to programs. Kindergarten G&T offers were made available to families on August 3rd via email, and they will also receive a mailed offer letter result. Families have until August 19th to accept the offer. Schools with G&T programs will have access to waitlist to make additional offers as needed. With regard to Summer Rising, the feedback from last month has been provided to the Summer Central Rising team. Summer Rising students and families have been asked to complete a survey about their experience to improve the program. With regard to the Family Welcome Centers, sites temporarily changed from August 1st to September 16th to accommodate enrollment need. The 89th Street Family Welcome Center staff will return to 89th Street on September 19th. Brooklyn temporary sites located at Boys and Girls High School and PS 152 are currently in operation. Academic screeners will continue in the 2022-2023 school year. All District 20 schools will administer Acadience reading to all K through 2 students, iReady reading to all grade 3 to 8 students, and iReady math to all kindergarten to 8th grade students. Dates are not yet set, but are expected to be 4-week windows in October, January, and May, similar to last year's schedule. The superintendent will provide updates just like last year on district progress. Dr. Preto also will schedule a district and listening learning tour where he will schedule hybrid events in September and early October at schools across the district with the President's Council, elected officials, and community leaders. To provide the district community with a beginning of the year state of the district report, a review of the superintendent's 90-day plan, and to elicit feedback from the community. Notification will be sent via school channels, social media, and posted on the district website once it is finished. With regard to the district-wide push for science and math Olympiads, we are working with both Science Olympiad and Math Olympiads for elementary and middle schools to launch in September 2022. The District 20 team, which is really exciting, is currently expanding as a result of the dissolution of the borough and citywide offices, and recently added new team members are still in the process of being onboarded. Additionally, new team members are still anticipated through the month of August. Dr. Preto will introduce the new expanded team, which includes instructional, operational, and compliance support personnel during the September meeting. Finally, at this time, as requested by the CEC, and Steve, if we could share it, the fair student funding allocations from last year with projections from this year. Now, I just want to share with everyone that's on the call right now, these allocations are based on register projections, which can oftentimes be inaccurate. We will not know the true numbers until October 31st. And just want to reiterate that key piece of information as we look at this document. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to take them when you're ready.
Joe, I'm just give me 1 second to pull this up, but maybe any council members who'd like to ask Dr. O'Brien questions about anything else he's spoken about, I just need a second to pull up the fair student funding information. While this is downloading, Joe, just 2 quick ones. The survey you mentioned for Summer Rising, is that something that I just want to make sure is that something we can distribute? Can we get a link to that? Who's administering that survey? Because we could certainly post that and distribute it through our social media.
Absolutely, and I will definitely get you some more information on that as soon as it becomes available. I know that that's something that's been part of Dr. Preto's initiative, so I'm sure that he'll be in touch with you shortly in order to get you that information.
Okay, and then his learning and listening tour, will the CEC be part of that?
Absolutely, absolutely, and I believe that you'll probably know that information firsthand, as we always want to be thought partners with our council.
Great. Any other questions? I have the information ready to share. So any other questions before we switch over to Dr. O'Brien's comments on fair student funding? Okay, let me.
Oh, yes. Oh, sorry, Joe. I wanted to ask you, when you did that survey did you do the survey with parents that their kids couldn't get in?
So I'm not privy to that. I'm sorry. I don't know where the Department of Education was able to, what families they reached out to regarding this survey. But I know that that's something that's happening centrally, and we're eagerly looking for feedback from our families. And as always, we're always here to reach out to and become, work together.
It's still better. Ongoing, Joe? The survey is still ongoing, or has it closed?
No, I believe the survey is still ongoing.
Okay. Yeah,
according to the notes.
If you can get that to us, we'll distribute it, and I'm sure some of us will take it themselves too.
I have the link.
You have a link, Joyce?
Yeah. I think only sending to the Helen in the summer writing program, because they asked about the feedback about the summer writing program. But I think it should be open up for all the parents.
Joyce, can you share that link? Can you drop that link in the chat and then email it to us later, the council, and we can.
Yeah, I can copy the link in the chat.
So Joyce, when they asked you the questions, does it ask you to enter sort of information that would prohibit any other parent from taking it? I assume it would, right?
No, there's no personal information. No, they just ask about like how many kids you know in this program, and what's the program you guys your kids have applied in the summer writing program, and how is what's the feel about this program, what's the improving about this program.
Okay. Okay. Okay, we are ready. I will share my screen now. Is that large enough, or do people want me to zoom in even more? Okay, go ahead, Joe.
So yes, so on this chart, you'll see to the left, the DBN is the name of the school, the number of the school, the grades that it serves, elementary, middle school, or K through 8. The third column is the fair student funding for 2022, the allocation for 2022. And the fourth column, probably the most important column, is the projections for what they're projecting for this year. And then there's the final column, which showcases a percentage change between the years. So you could see on this chart the changes that are happening across the district by school. But again, I just want to reiterate that the projections are just that, projections. They're not 100% accurate, and at times could be way off. But we want to make sure that we provided and be completely transparent with what we have right now as a district. And we should have we will have hard numbers on October 31st when those numbers become live.
Right. Joe, can you, for those, my benefit and others' benefit, can you just walk us through, like, what are principals doing today with this information? What is a typical principal responsible for right now with this information? What are the challenges of their job in a normal year? What are the challenges of their job this year?
So that's a great question, Stephen. And, I think, for me and from the principals I've spoken to recently, and I can only speak from the personal experiences that I've had with principals over the last few weeks, many of the challenges with this happen with hiring teachers, ensuring that there is a qualified teacher, a licensed teacher in front of every student. And I have to tell you, I've never seen a group of principals work so hard in my entire life than the principals of District 20. They're truly, truly remarkable. And the work that has gone into this summer to ensure that even with lower projections, that it's not taking the wind from their sails, they're ensuring that programs are still happening. They are making sure that those great things that make District 20 will remain in place. And it's not easy. It's not easy. And I'm just so very proud of the work that they've done. But without being in that seat myself, I would be remiss to try to share with you what's on their mind. I know it's been a long year though, and I really applaud them with everything I have.
Is there any, I would love to hear, Joe, if it's okay, if I would love to know, we usually have a few principals on the call. Would it be okay if I sort of call on one of them in teacher classroom style?
Of course, Steve, please be my guest.
I would love to hear, oh, did she just drop off? Principal Godelius, I think she might have just, she probably saw I was getting ready to call on her and she just dropped off. But I understand it's a complicated, complex issue, and I don't know if maybe it's worth, because this is going to lead right into the UFT representatives who are here. I had a few notes on this too, but I'll let the UFT representatives sort of speak next on this. Just going back to Richard. Richard, you're still here. Would you like to speak now, Richard, on this topic?
Thank you, everyone.
That'd be great.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, wait, Joe, I wanted to ask you, are those numbers accurate? Because when the principal of my kids' elementary was saying that they had a lowered budget this year, but on the paper chart I seen, it looks like she got more money, because then she was saying her budget was lower this year and she had to like get rid of a teacher, or like put the teacher on hold. So I'm wondering, are these numbers like minus the federal money, I guess?
So that these are simply projections, and I know that they're constantly in flux. We won't truly know the accurate number until October 31st. But I'm sorry, I wish I had more information for you, but I know that many people are thinking the same thing. It's just how accurate we can base these numbers on, and it's not there.
Hey, Elizabeth, I'll take a crack at that, because as you guys know, I took a look at this morning and did sort of an example. Yes, this is one portion of funding for the school. Fair student funding is one portion, and it's a large portion. I think on average, it's something like 2/3 of the funding for an average school budget. But there could be money being reduced. Certainly federal money is being reduced. So I think you mentioned that could be the case. That very well could be the case in this particular situation. But Elizabeth, I'd be happy to also do the work the same. Elizabeth, what school, remind me again? I'll follow up later. Richard, actually, anyone else have questions? And Joe, I don't know if do you have to take off, or if you wouldn't mind sticking around to hear UFT's comments and perhaps some Q&A after that. Are you free for that?
Of course, Stephen, of course.
Awesome, thank you so much. Richard, did you want to say a few words?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
Sure, no problem.
So my name's Rich Mantell. I'm from the UFT. My colleague's also on the call, Michael Thill. So to follow up with what Dr. O'Brien was discussing about the budgets. So $469 million has been cut in fair student funding for this upcoming school year. In District 20, the average school lost 40 out of 45 schools lost roughly $1 million each. We have very different numbers than Dr. O'Brien. For example, we have, take a look here, junior high school 201 lost roughly $2 million, about 15% of their budget. I believe there was an elementary school, it could be, I don't have the exact number, 503, that accessed a number of teachers. Brooklyn School of Inquiry, which I believe one of the parents or child goes to, lost about $700,000, which is about 17% of their budget. And I can send this over to you later, Stephen, to share. So, you know, with all this money being cut, and there is federal money, the city is not giving it to the schools for whatever reason. The mayor is not, he refuses to. So with all these cuts going on, things such as the gifted and talented programs that you want expanded, we just don't see how that's possible with all this money being cut. With, you know, you talked about security and safety. Again, how are these things going to be funded if you're cutting money? Talked about after school programs. One principal already told us that she will not have any after school programs next year because she's being cut so much money, and that her projected registers are actually higher than what she was allotted for and what she expects are two different amounts. And therefore, any extra money she has will have to go to hiring staff, paying staff, and she will not be able to have any after school programs. So as you know, there was a lawsuit filed by a couple of teachers and parents. And last week, a judge ruled in favor that the money had to be restored. In fact, back to last year's school budget amounts. The city, or the mayor rather, appealed. This could drag on for weeks. School starts in a few weeks. We just don't understand why the mayor simply will not give the money back to the schools and just let the school year begin smoothly instead of letting it be so chaotic. And look, a lot of schools had excess teachers. Excess teacher means that, you know, they didn't have money to pay them. The projecting registers went down, they can't keep them. So, you know, your child's favorite teacher might not be there next year. That art program may not be there next year. So we're imploring people to reach out to the mayor and just, you know, tell him to restore the cuts. And Mike, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Hi, everyone. I had a hard time getting on. I think Rich said it. You know, in listening to the council members a little while ago talking about the things that they would like to see. Sorry, my kids are in the background here. The things that they'd like to see happen in District 20 and talking about the gifted and talented programs. I mean, really, when you talk about a gifted and talented program, aren't we really just saying that every student, every child that goes into school ought to reach their full potential? And some students need a gifted and talented program in order to reach their full potential. But what we're going to see here with these budget cuts are situations, whether there's a gifted and talented program or not, there's going to be less individualized instruction that's going to be able to be provided to each student, because you're going to see an across the board increase in class sizes. And so even without the gifted and talented program, that teacher who could take a personal touch with the child and push him or her or them to a higher level of achievement is going to be less, is going to be more difficult to do that, obviously. And so, you know, we're looking to partner with everybody in an effort to restore these cuts. Thank you.
And yeah, thank you guys for being here, and as well for Joe. And I recognize we have a lot of different stakeholders in the room, and so I think it's great to get all these perspectives. When we talk, just a couple of things I want to try and get clear, because I've read the news articles and there's a lot of media coverage. There's a lot of things parents are saying, and I want to try and understand the positions of all the different stakeholders in this debate. Rich, when you say give the money back to the schools, and then you also talked about federal money that should be given to the schools, what are you talking about there? What are those pots of money?
Sure. So there's COVID money, and the controller spoke about this actually at a press conference last week. There are billions of dollars in COVID money available, and the city or the mayor, for whatever reason, is withholding that money that has to be spent in the schools, on the schools. So it's there. And, you know, the controller has said over and over again, he doesn't understand why the mayor is, you know, basically crying poverty when the money exists.
Just curious, so I can sort of reference this and talk about this intelligently. And certainly, you know, we talk on CEC members where, in fact, this coming Saturday, I have a meeting with the chancellor. He invites CEC presidents to meet with him every month and a half. So when you say the COVID money, right, is there sort of a specific sort of funding program, a specific program that's at odds here? Is there, you know, I've heard, anyway, I'll just leave it at that for right now, because I want to be able to talk intelligently and not just say the COVID money generally. You know what I mean?
Yeah, these funding streams are all our American Recovery Protection Act money. And if anybody's interested in doing so, you can go on the DOE website and you can look at the allocation table from last year. Mm-hmm. And see line after line is alphabetical. So at the very beginning of the budget, you'll see ARPA, and it was allocated to different discrete purposes, right? And so you could go on and you can look at the school allocation memorandum that goes along with the particular type of ARPA money, and you can see if it was in there from last year and how much money came along with it and how much is in there this year, right? You're going to see a lot fewer lines on your table.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay, Mike? Sorry, you were breaking up a little.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can hear you.
It's just a good segue, and I won't stick on this too long. This is something I sent out to my council this morning as kind of an example of the school budgets, and it's exactly what you just said there. We can see here, this is, you know, one of the junior highs in our district, in row 28 here is the ARPA money. And in fiscal year 2022, there was $2 million for this school. And then it's projected to receive, you know, an 81% decline this year, 380,000. And then to your point, here's all the ARPA funds. but I guess, I'm just trying to understand, from one year to the next. I mean, this money was always going away, right? And are there some of these programs in particular, like these are all called academic recovery? Are there any particular programs that the UFT believes the mayor is unlawfully not funding? That's kind of my basic question. Like, which of these programs, we can see the numbers dropping dramatically just from the budget, what's presented. And I'm curious about the legality of it. And maybe this is something I can look at what the controller's written about. I assume that might be sort of your go-to. Is that what you guys would consider sort of the best source for these type of questions to get these type of things answered? Brad Lander's office.
Yeah, I would say so. And, I'm not there, but, every student is entitled to a full education. And the argument, as I understand it in the lawsuit, was that these cuts are so drastic that it's impossible to provide a quality education.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you guys know, where does the lawsuit go from here? I think you mentioned earlier, Richard, like it's going to be appealed weeks.
Yeah, so I believe the court date is not until August 29th.
Right.
Okay.
And, school starts a week later.
But that's my question for the principals. And I do wish one was here, but Dr. O'Brien, I am curious legitimately about what they're sort of dealing with right now. And I guess now they can go ahead and start spending. I mean, would you correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but they can go ahead and start spending based on the budget that's approved, even though it's going to be challenged for the next few weeks and potentially longer, right?
So they have to program based on the cuts.
Right.
I believe tomorrow, and it's not binding, but the city council is going to hold a vote on restoring the money.
Okay.
But again, that's not a binding vote.
Right. And one sort of technical question I'm just curious about, and then I'll let my other council members see if they have any questions. There was a portion of the Fair Student Funding that's, I'm just going to talk about the one school I looked at, which was our junior high. It gets $9 million base Fair Student Funding, and then there's something like a $2 million collective bargaining adjustment. What is that for?
So collective bargaining adjustment happens in years where some groups, often the UFT, but sometimes the CSA or a different bargaining unit that has workers in the school, are going to see a contractual raise, right? And so that schools aren't in the position of saying, oh, the teachers are getting a raise this year, so we have to access one teacher because it's going to be more expensive. Those adjustments allow schools to not have to access people just because people are getting cost of living adjustment.
Okay. Okay. So is that, I'm assuming there's something like that every year added on to the Fair Student Funding formula, or no? Was it seemed very large this year. I mean, $2 million on top of $9 million. Is that an every year thing that there's adding that on, or?
It's not every.
Okay. Any council members, any Q&A on this from council members? We've had a number of discussions about this, and what I'll say for council members, there's everyone's school has its own story, and I can actually, let me share the numbers again, the Fair Student Funding numbers again. And while I do that, I just want to give others a chance to ask questions if there's anything. And in any sense, Richard, I was curious, you mentioned your numbers are a lot different from what Dr. O'Brien has provided. I can tell you my 259 right here looks very similar. $11 million Fair Student Funding going, to 10.9. I'm just double checking that. I see a minor difference, but do you think there's, because data is so important in this and understanding the data the right way, do you think are you seeing material differences between what's shown here?
I'm sorry, what school was that one more time?
So I'm looking at, just as one example, at 259. Actually, yeah. What do you show for 259 for fiscal 22 and projected?
So 13.6 down to 11.6.
Okay. And 13.6 is total fair student funding from fiscal 22.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I don't know if it's worth the meeting going in this direction, but I just wanted to sort of get that quick issue highlighted, and then perhaps there'll be some follow-up. And Richard, did you say you could provide us some of your data?
Yeah, I'll send you this, and I'll put my email in the chat if anybody has any
Great.
questions, want to reach out.
Great.
And
Similar
Stephen, I can
questions.
illuminate where this data came from. It came right from Galaxy this morning.
Okay,
So this is the freshest data that we have.
got it, Joe. Thank you so much.
No problem.
And my data came from Galaxy this morning as well. But I'd love to see what Richard's looking at, and I'd love to, again, like I say, it's about understanding the issue from all sides. Elizabeth, who was that you speaking?
No, it was Maya. Hi.
Go ahead.
It would be interesting to see, because if the explanation of the cuts is the direct correlation between number of students, then it would be interesting to see. So many students left, so many students projected to leave, and that's the amount. Because right now it's like, on top of the house, and I know that our school has BSI has long waiting list, very coveted school, so they wouldn't have any problems filling the spots. But I'm sure they are, but they still cut 6%. So.
A couple questions, Maya. What you mentioned before about BSI, you guys are not losing students.
I have to confirm that, but the school is it's a thought after school, and it had, usually has long waiting list.
Right.
And so if students leave, first of all, nobody leaves BSI unless, the real reason. So there are 1 or 2 students, but then if they do, they have no problem replacing it because everyone wants to be in that school.
Right. And then sort of second question, and you touched on I think this was touched on in the chat, but, and I'd love to get Richard and Mike's sort of opinion, because I'm sure that they have a very distinct point of view, but the cuts at Central, like when the administration came in and Chancellor Banks came in, he talked a lot about looking to, cut money from sort of DOE Central and move resources closer to the classrooms. Have they done that?
We haven't seen that happening, to be honest with you. We've seen things just moved around, like kind of shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic, but we haven't seen, an exodus of administrative staff.
I love that expression, chairs on the deck of Titanic. But coming from the financial services, we know when the cuts come, they usually come not in the business, but on the overhead, the corporate functions that are getting too don't want to say too fat, but they usually, when there are money, there are more hiring on the top, more services, but then when the bad times come, usually cut goes not from the business, but from the top of the house where all the services are, but it looks like here is a different approach. So the cut is going from the, so to say, business, right? And would be interesting to know what cuts are done on the top.
Yeah, so I'm quite curious, has UFT provided any kind of recommendation, said, we think DOE could, achieve X amount of savings from sort of central operations if they wanted to? Have you guys come out with anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we have engaged with the department on giving them suggestions about what could be cut. we are limited in our ability to make that happen because it's outside of the
Sure.
realm of bargaining, of course. But you know, when you're a teacher, they always ask you for your data, right? So you're teaching like students started at this level, and what data do you have to demonstrate that you have moved students forward? And rightfully so, we ought to be asked for that, right? That's our responsibility. And what we've been asking from the department is for their data about the different programs that they're running, and how do they have any data to demonstrate that there's been improvement in student progress based on the various central programs that they run. And you know, that would be very important to know. We obviously don't want the DOE to cut programs that are working, but they're not sharing that kind of information.
Yeah, and I'll speak for myself, but I think a number of my council members are very much in agreement that if there's DOE central staffing and programs that don't have a demonstrated impact on learning outcomes, that's got to be evaluated. How do you guys, what's the, you know, just to flip it back to you, you know, the obvious rationale for the reduction in spending is enrollment declines, right? We've got across the board, across the city, across districts, schools, enrollment declines falling. Do you dispute that? I mean, don't you agree that if enrollment is declining, fair student funding should decline as well?
Yeah, and you know, fair student funding was a well-intentioned attempt to address a real problem. And I'm sure that many people who are on the meeting right now are aware of this history and have worked at various times on fixing these kinds of problems. But in the past, you would have situations where money kind of got allocated to schools without a real formula, right? And so money could be allocated to schools that have more political power, and schools that had less political power would be left in the lurch, right? And so fair student funding was an attempt to create a formula so that wouldn't happen. So that schools are funded based on the number of students that are in the school and the kinds of needs that they have, right? If a student has an IEP, for example, they bring more money to the school if they're English language learner. So people know this, all right? What we're saying right now is that while there has been a cut, while there has been a drop in enrollment, and that drop in enrollment began before the pandemic, obviously the pandemic exacerbated that, right? We all know that. But at the same time, something was happening at the state, right? Where we're finally getting all of the C4E money coming from the state that's supposed to come to New York City. It's now coming. So the money is coming to the Department of Ed, but they're sticking to the fair student funding formula when they don't have to, right? They could decide to hold schools harmless as we're still transitioning out of this pandemic, right? All the learning loss that students endured, right? I have 4 kids. One of them was in kindergarten in the 2019-2020 school year, right? You never get that time back, that second half of kindergarten where you really learn how to read. You know, you never get that back. And forget about learning loss, just loss in general, all the loss that people in society, and children are no different, faced during the pandemic, right? They could decide to keep, they've done it before, to keep spending at the previous levels, right? Rather than sticking to the formula, which is a formula that they created to address a problem in typical times. And we're not in typical times, right? It's not the time to make drastic cuts. Keep the funding where it would have been, even if you didn't have the drop in enrollment from last year. And then you could have things like additional supports, right? You could have additional programs for after school. You could have smaller class sizes. So every class is like a gifted and talented class, and so on.
And I think you mentioned the campaign for fiscal equity, and then earlier we talked about federal money. So those are the two sort of sources for funding. You guys are saying the UFT's position is there's state money and there's federal money that has come to the city for this fiscal year that they have not allocated to school budgets. And I mean, that money's gone somewhere, right? That your basic point is it's gone to central budgets. And quantifying those amounts, again, I'll ask again, but I'm not sure. Is there a way to say, I guess just back to the controller's comments, billions in COVID dollars available? Is there a number on that?
I don't have it handy.
No problem. Yeah. And how about on the state aid? Is there a number? Again, you just mentioned state aid. We've been getting more than we have in past years. Any number on that? Just trying to put this all in perspective.
I can get it.
Okay. I think I got
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So I just want to, really kind of, because I mean, Maya had the same type of question. Is the DOE explaining the drop in the budget basically by saying that students have left? Is that why the budget's being cut? The overarching reason?
Yes, that's part of it. That is the reason for the drop in fair student funding, which, as Stephen has said earlier, is always the largest funding stream in a school, like 2/3 of a budget. It's also, by the way, the most flexible funding stream, right? It can pay for any number of things that are on the school budget. And so the drop in enrollment has caused a drop in the fair student funding, which takes away both the money that's going to the school and also, to a certain extent, the principal's discretion to spend funds in the school in a way that suits the school community.
But if schools actually have not lost students, should they not see any drops of funding?
They should not see a drop in the fair student funding. There might be other funding streams that have not been given to the school. But I think when you were speaking earlier and you're talking about a 6% cut, I think that was related to fair student funding, not the overall budget in the school. So I have no idea how to explain that. If the school has is not projected to have any register loss, there shouldn't be a drop. I assume, not having looked at that particular school, that the DOE is projecting a register loss at this time. As Dr. O'Brien said, those things get rectified on October 31st when you get the actual numbers. But it is pretty difficult for a principal, I think, and having never been a principal, I can't speak to one, but having spoken to many, if you don't know until October 31st that the money's going to be returned to you, then it's really difficult to hire for September. And I'm terrible at multitasking, but I saw something come up in the chat about the formula. You can see the fair student funding formula, both how the formula works and how the money is allocated to your school by going on the DOE website. You search for your school, it'll come up. You can click on statistics and budget, and there's a fair student funding page, and it explains how fair student funding works, and it also tells you how much money you're getting based on the student projections for your school.
Maya, I can walk Maya or anyone. I can walk any of you through this. That's what I did this morning for McKinley. I don't know if it's helpful or a good use of time for me to go through what I did. If any council member would like to see what I did, I think it would help. It might help illuminate some of this conversation.
Thank you. Not right now, but maybe yeah. I'll look, and if I have questions, I'll ping you.
It's all there, and if you'd like me to look at your school specifically, just let me know. I'll not anytime, maybe this weekend. I could look at that. So, okay. I think we've had a great discussion. I see Dr. O'Brien, any final comments on this? Anything that we've talked about? Actually, Dr. O'Brien, I do have one question for you about the sort of this idea of finding savings in DOE Central. Has that, given the shifts that you've talked about with the district office and eliminating, the BCO office and then moving people to the district office, that sounds like sort of just moving moving money from one area to the other. Is there any reason to think that that's not the case? Am I misunderstanding that from your perspective?
So I believe that the Chancellor Banks' initiative around creating a robust superintendent's team is really to field the type of questions and give the superintendent the type of autonomy that when parent concerns come up, that he can make a very informed decision and be able to take action on that decision. So I think that from that lens, it really lends itself to giving the superintendent more control and more power throughout the district to make sure those initiatives happen.
Okay. I don't know if do you have like a total numbers, people that used to be in the office versus how big it's getting?
Oh, sure, Steve. We had 6 people in the office, and now I think we're up to 25
Okay.
at this time.
And that's dedicated District 20 people, or is that shared?
This is dedicated District 20 employees, and
Okay.
so it's quite a large increase
Yep.
on the team.
And then those individuals are coming from other DOE departments that were cut?
I believe so. I don't know firsthand, but I know that we now have instructional specialists that we're going to be able to deploy to schools to help lead professional learning, to work with our principals, to work with our APs, and work with our teachers. So it's exciting, to be able to have this amount of resources at our fingertips.
Right.
I think in time will tell as we go forward. And I know Dr. Pretto has a very clear vision for his first 90 days, and we'll be sharing that with the CEC and the community in the days ahead.
Yeah, no, from a programming and outreach perspective, I understand all that. I guess one question, final question on this: are any of the 25 people, so that's 19 new individuals, are any of them new hires? Like, did you and sit down with anyone and interview people, and are any of those new hires, or were they all?
No. I didn't sit down with anyone.
Okay.
I know Dr. Pretto has been in speaking with Central and learning about for onboarding these staff that are coming on. But no, there were not new hires.
All coming from within the DOE, just
and coming from within Brooklyn South, really.
okay.
Many members were devoted to other districts in Brooklyn South, not 20, but we'll now be working with 20 on many different areas.
How big was Brooklyn South office? I never got a good handle on that.
So Brooklyn South represented the 5 districts in southern Brooklyn. So there were 4 additional districts. Obviously, we are the largest,
Right.
but there were 4 other districts. I believe it's 17, 18, 20, 21, and 22 was the full district, full Brooklyn South hub. That has dissolved, and now we've acquired several new employees that are going to be helping us service District 20 principals, teachers, students, and APs.
But no idea, I don't know if, I'm not sure why you would know this, but the total number of employees under the old Brooklyn South office, any idea what that was?
Oh, gee, I'm sorry, I don't know. I didn't have that kind of intel around with them.
No worries. And where did Deputy Superintendent Barbara Freeman end up?
Oh, Executive Superintendent Freeman, I believe is still with the department. Unfortunately, though, I don't have any updates around her new role.
No, it's just a case study. I'm just asking these questions as sort of a case study of what the DOE is really doing as far as cutting costs. And to me, it doesn't sound like a hell of a lot.
Understood.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Really,
No
thank you, Joe. And thank you, Rich and Mike, for being here. I think it was a good conversation. We look forward to continuing it in the future.
As do we. Thank you so much, President Stowe.
Yep.
Thank you.
Let me just get myself back to the agenda. Okay, we'll now do our quick budget discussion for the CEC's budget. Just bear with me, everyone. Thank you for your patience tonight. Okay. So CEC members, this is our annual budget approval where we don't have to do a resolution. We just have to talk about the budget, discuss how we want to allocate the money, and put it in the different line items, and then send it over to our grants officer, Marie Burrow, who will enter it into the system. And we don't have to know all the technical terms. You can see my screen here, and you can see column B right here, these 4 items. These are the 4 standard items that most expenses fall under. But to be honest, if there's an expense and we want to call it something different, we can. And when it goes to Marie, she will put it into the right category, whatever corresponds most closely to it in the system, and make a note of that. So really, we can all sort of think about this as pretty open-ended exercise, other than the reimbursements. So I'll start with that. And for anyone who doesn't know, and FY 2021, 2022, that's fiscal year. So that's the last fiscal year, the school year that just ended, starting in this fall of 2021, ending in the spring of 2022. And then I show fiscal year 2022, 2023. So this is our old budget that's already happened. And this is what Marie provided to me. So the numbers here are exactly what Marie Burrow provided to me. And this first column shows what was budgeted, $21,000. We spent $7,492 during the year, and we had remaining $13,600 that at the end of the year, it goes back to the DOE. Let's start with the reimbursements. And this is pretty straightforward because as you guys all know, there's a monthly cap, and it's capped at $75 for broadband, $50 for childcare, $125 per member per month. President gets a little more. President gets $200 a month. And so for the full year, it works out to a total of $1,500 per member times 10 members, that's $15,000. And with the president's ad of $2,400, you get a total budget for reimbursements of $17,400. And so I've just shown that right here in the current cell. That's our reimbursement budget, and that's not going to change. That's fixed. We should start with that. And during the year, if people want to give up their reimbursement budget, they can. But for starting the year, I recommend we just start with that. Does that make sense to everyone? If anyone has an issue with that, speak now.
Yeah, I got a question because you're saying broadband and the child care, that's a cap for $50, $75 and $50, right? I saw it's in the monthly cap is $125.
Correct.
But you say about broadband, the cap is $75. And the child care, the cap is $50.
Yes, I think I agree with you, Joyce, if I understand you. Go ahead.
Because no, I just know it's a monthly cap is $125. I don't know that's a child care and the cap is $50.
You're saying, Joyce, I think you're saying you didn't know that the monthly cap was 50 on childcare?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know the cap for reimbursement monthly is $125, but I don't know. There's a.
Oh, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, it actually is broken up into the 2 categories. I'm just looking at the. There's another CEC3 provided that, but yeah, it's actually broken up into the 2 categories. Broadband internet is always capped at $75 a month, and childcare is capped as a result at $50. is there, Joyce, is there an issue that you want me to follow up with? I've asked Marie Burrow a few times for more information about this. She hasn't responded the last couple of days. So, but Joyce, is there a concern that you want me to follow up with on this?
No, just because just in the future later on, we know like there's a cap for childcare.
Yeah. Because it's really, I think it's more just I know for a fact broadband is capped at 75. And so by definition, childcare is capped at 50 because I know the cap is 125 per member. I think if broadband goes away, remember, the broadband benefit was only put in place during the pandemic. And that might be taken away at some point. So then, I don't know. I'm not sure. But then your childcare reimbursement might increase, or they might just lower the cap to 50. I don't know for sure. But I'll confirm with Marie Burrow on that. But this is what it's been, the last year and this year, and this is what I was told for this year. So we can back to this line item. Is everyone okay with that? Okay. So then the rest of it is really up to us. And just to start, I've just put under refreshment and family engagement, 3,800, under events, 3,800. So those are placeholders, and we could leave it like that. And then as we decide on things, actually, this is a great time. Joyce, how could I forget? Joyce actually has a presentation to make. Joyce, you ready to make your comments?
Yeah, see you talking about the budget because for this program we want to do for the following years. Let me show you my share screen. I have a PowerPoint, so just make it simple. So why we need to do this? Because we want to build more connection with the parents. See.
And just so everyone, 1 second, Joyce, sorry. Just so everyone understands, Joyce is presenting an expense for the budget. And so she wants to share exactly why, we think it's a good idea to spend money on. So go ahead, Joyce.
Yeah, for this program, why we to do this? We want to develop a better way to communicate with the district parents, and we try to building our district email list. So every monthly meeting, we can just click we can just send it to all the district parents and all the executive for the council members. And then the other ways we compare some management application from the database email program. So the program we choose called contact because this program is simple and very consistency. Because when we sending out the mail, we will concern about their deliverability rate. There's a 90%. So it's not easy going to the spam or junk mail. So every time the parent will receive the email, when they click it, we will see the response. When they open the email, we will see how many parents open the mail, how many parents receive our mail. So this program also provides 30 minutes free meeting to train us how to use it. And the next budget depend on how many email we're gonna sending out each month. There's a start with mostly start with at 500 or 1 to 25,000. That's $70 a month. So it increased by the context we have. But good thing is there's a discount for nonprofit organization. If we prepay for 1 year, that's a 30%. If we increase the content every month, we can adjust the price. So there's a feature about this program. That's the program we choose from the constant contact is called Plus Plan. So there's a mostly feature we can use that exactly I think emailing marketing, and then we can grow our district parents needs you also have automated email marketing. So for example, like parents doesn't respond, they will resend the email. They will automatically resend the email to the parents. And they also have a winning support is they have live support. They have in-person training, like Zoom meeting. They have in-person or webinar meeting for us. And we can call them by they have the live person answer the phone, because other email database management, they don't have like live supporting team. So next link, I can show you guys they have the sample or template we can use for the email. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Let me see. I just create a 60-day travel account. It's in this plan. I was partnered with the NIPIN. So since we in the council's member, we want to contribute something. So we also learn something when we contribute doing something. So that's a sign form. That's the sign up form. We can maximize master our to get the parents' email. We can put on our district's website, or we can send it to every school's parent coordinator. And the next pricing. Sorry, I think the internet is a little bit slow down. So next pricing, we can see I also. So next pricing, I already show is depend on the content we have. And there's a 2 plan, Core and Plus. On the Plus plan, we also could add so it's what SMS to sending out the link from the parents for our monthly meeting or any events. And then the template we create on the template we can use for our email have multiple choice. So it's just here's create email, and we click on there. Sorry. So we will see in the template. Mostly we send out even a holiday. Even a holiday, we can send in an email to all the parents. Like any holiday from the school holiday, we can keep sending out the email. I think also it's let's build out a connection. The parent also will feel it's important. And we also can sending out the newsletter. They have template create. We just put on our content. There's an event exactly like our monthly meeting, we can put in there. So any announcement from the school year enrollment, we can send it out too. So I think the constant content is like more simple, and we can maximize sending out the email to our district parent. And they also can create. They also collecting the feedback from the parents too. Yeah, that's my presentation.
That's great, Joyce. Can you do surveys with it? Did it say?
Yes.
Sweet.
They
And
also collecting the parent survey, so we can create a survey. How can we improve our CEC? They also can put in there.
and on the pricing again, the numbers, is that the different groups of numbers? Are those the number of emails to each parent you send per month?
Yes.
So
I think it's the content we add to there, not sending out
okay, it's the number of
content.
emails, number of contacts in your database.
Yes.
Counting
for our sending out the email.
Say that again.
It's not counting for sending out the email. It's for our database. How many content we have in our database?
So can we send unlimited emails?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why they also, if the parent doesn't open our email sending out, they will resend the email, automatically resend.
Got it. This is, just so everyone knows, this is something that a few other councils use across the city. One of them told me they increased their mailing list to something like almost 4,000 parents as a result of using it. And you can use it each meeting. You can take the emails you get for the meeting registrations. You can take, you can circulate a sign up link on social media. So again, it's a lot better. It's a lot better than, I can tell you.
We don't want to say anything, but you.
It's a lot better than using Outlook, using the CEC Outlook email, which I've started using now as your new administrative assistant. This is a designed to manage email, large numbers of emails and distribution lists.
I like the ideal, but I just concerned about the privacy of our parents and, you know, protecting their emails, because not every parent want to be constantly barraged with like emails. So that's not their choice if we're just taking it from, you know, if they sign into our business meeting or our calendar meeting and just to take their email. Like, we need consent for that to happen.
So I've checked on this, Elizabeth, because it's a good point. But when you log in on the Zoom meeting, the terms of the registration are you consent to be notified, just like a lot of things. But there's also an unsubscribe at the bottom of each email. When you get the email, just like a lot of our marketing emails we get, there's an unsubscribe at the bottom. So it's that kind of relationship. And I double checked with the DOE, and they went back and said, they came back actually checking with their legal and said, it's fine. Once the parents have effectively, by registering, and by the same token, if we circulate a link on social media, if they would opt in, basically. They effectively say, sure, you can add me to your list.
Yeah, exactly. And I say when we building on the email database, we ask about permission. So when we enter contact in our database, they ask about, do we have permission to add to there? So every in the database, every email we collect, when we're sending out the sign form, there's a permission. If the parent doesn't have permission, we cannot. They will.
And how secure is this constant contact forum?
We only collect for parents' email, the name, and we can like create what's the information we want it. Then we just want basic. Maybe we just want an email. We can like just get contact, connecting parent and the district or CEC. Maybe parent wants how to get some question from the CEC, but they doesn't know how to find a way to contact CEC. So there's no way. When they have the email, they can save the email. They can respond the email if they have any question.
And Elizabeth, were you also asking about like sort of cybersecurity?
I just wanted to make sure that it's a very secure site, because a lot of sites, they, you know, you end up getting a lot of viruses and spam.
Yeah, the best I can say is it's, you know, widely known. I've had this product recommended by many people for, it's like one of the two, there's like two really well-known email database that Joyce and Li Ping looked at. But otherwise I can't get too much on, I don't know too much about the security. But we could probably follow up if there's some specifics. But I like Joyce's point about like, all we're getting literally is an email. We're not creating a record with any identifiable personal information. Like, it's just an email, and if they want out, they're out. There's nothing about their kid's record on here or anything like that.
Yeah, even the name we click on there, we don't ask about official name. We just put, for example, my official name is Xiaochong, but I can just click on Joyce.
And any other questions? Because this is something now we'd like to make a budget request. And Joyce, can you put those the pricing back up? So I'm just gonna, we have to figure out the right amount of money to request for this. You know, our current email in the Outlook, in the DOE CEC email, I think there's something like 350 emails on that. Okay, so if we look at this bucket, we'd be in the 0 to 500 contact list right away. And that's $45 a month. So we could potentially prepay, that's $540. And then if we go up to the next level, let's say this thing works really well, we get up above 500, then we're at 70 a month for $840. So I guess Joyce, what are your thoughts on pricing?
I think we could go to the second one, like 501, because we also create a sign up form to collect to build out our emailing data email database. So you say right now we only have 350, right? Around 350.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And remember, everyone, we're just going to put money in the budget tonight, but when we start talking to the vendor, the final price could be lower. So I agree, we should probably set money aside for the second category there. And maybe just, so that would be 70 times 12, that would be $840. We could set aside 1,000 just to make it simple, and then talk to the vendor, and the final price might come in lower and we have money left over. What is everyone, any opinions on that? Or should we just, I'm happy to just make a motion and we can move this along if we like.
Like, I'm confused. Like, it says it's based on number of contacts. So, but wouldn't we have more than 50,000 contacts based on the number of parents in our community? So shouldn't it be down to 410 a month? That's what I just don't get it.
I can explain, or Joyce, do you want to explain or take a stab?
Yeah, you can go ahead and explain.
It'll only, Elizabeth, it'll only be, so yes, we have 35,000 students and potentially 50,000 or more parents, right? But as you guys know, we never come close to that at any of our meetings or events or mailings. And the regular email list that we have, and this wouldn't just be parents, by the way, this would also be DOE officials and really anyone who attends our meetings. That list is 350 email addresses. Now, we've never actively tried to grow it and build it. So that is a little bit of an unknown, is exactly how high this could go. Here's something to think about. CEC 2, which is in Manhattan, you know, very large district across central Manhattan, they grew their list to almost 4,000 parents using it over a year. So that's something to think about. I think CEC 2 might have I don't know if CEC2's parents are more active than ours. You know, it might take a while for us to start building this. But obviously they would fall into the third category there, $95 a month. And that would be $1,140 a month. The way it's a good question. And the way I look at this is money you know, we can talk about spending money on events or outreach, refreshments, but like in this day and age, what is more powerful than, you know, the internet, using the internet to its full advantage? So, so I think we should, again, I think probably we should try and be, you know, add a little extra into the line item, because I think it's money worth, you know, it's worth spending money on. Anyone else, any comments on this? Joyce, do you have any second thoughts about maybe setting aside money for the third tier? Or do you think it's hard to know, like, if we'll get to how fast we can grow this? Like, in theory, we have enough parents that maybe we could get to above 2,500, but I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, even we on the third tier, if we got budget for 1,000, we still enough, because they give us if we prepay 1 year, they give us 30% discount.
Right.
So it's still in the budget. And now Elizabeth saw, that's why I saw at the beginning, it should be start with like maybe at least 20,000 parents. But when I heard about Steve saying, that's why when we do the research, I also asked about Steve to get the feedback from other districts. They use the constant contact, asking them the feedback. What's the advantage? What's the disadvantage? And since we got the feedback and the contact, even as Steve said, even District 2, they grow up for around 4,000 parents. That's why I count down. Then I see maybe because some parents, they have like 2 kids, because you only count on for one parent. So I think we go on the budget on 1,000. But if the other way is if the contact growing so fast, that means our parents is very active. That's a good thing. We can like talk to the vendor, get us the better price.
Yeah. Can we do, so $95 a month for 12 months is 1,140. Can we put aside that amount in the budget? And then, as Joyce said, we're going to get a discount. So it won't be that much, but can we just put that amount of money aside in the budget? Keeping in mind, last year, we didn't come close to spending all of our money.
As a treasurer, I just wanted to, weigh in and say so much of our money reverted back to the DOE. So I think that it is a worthwhile endeavor to do this.
Great. So I'll just making a motion to set aside 1,140 for constant contact subscription. And I'll just do this visually on the screen right now. Joyce, I'm going to stop you sharing and
I can stop.
Go to me. So I'll just add this in and then we can get through this, because I do know we should. Okay. And is there any, between these two categories, any preference as to where I take it out of? I'll take it out of refreshment and family engagement, because we're basically doing family engagement by using constant contact. Okay. Anything else right now? Anyone for the budget? I'm not putting in anything for the P card. Last year, the P card is something, it's like a debit card. And last year, the administrative assistants never got one. And so CECs had this money budgeted for it, and they never got it. And it was always meant to be spent on sort of short-term office supplies and stuff. What I do think we should do is put in a line for office supplies. And if the P card, if something changes with that, we can always we could always go back to that. But again, in my time, the P card has not really been a very useful, widely used thing. This other CEC shared their budget with me. I'll just show you guys now. CEC 3, they just approved this budget. And I guess I'll just recommend doing kind of what they did. You can see they have office supplies here, and then a little asterisk to be placed on the P card, but again, not using the P card itself as a specific line item, because that resulted in lost money last year. So if that's okay, let's put some amount for office supplies. I think we do need that. So I'll just propose putting, I don't know, 1,500 for office supplies. And then we'll pull some of that out of, we'll take 500 out of here and maybe take 1,000 out of here. Let's look at CEC 3's budget. If anything else on here seems like it needs to be added, copier maintenance, wow, I don't, events, equipment. So equipment is an interesting one. If we do need to spend money for our hybrid meetings, I'll propose we put something in for equipment. I think that actually makes a lot of sense. Because as everyone knows, we might be back very soon to doing meetings in person. We might need to buy video conferencing equipment. I'll just take, and again, as I'm reducing these other categories, but again, remember what we did last year was move money around if we later need more money for an event or something like that. How does that look? Go ahead.
I saw they have a location transportation. What's that?
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know. I do not know. Let me just I'll text him right now, and if maybe he'll get back to me in the next 5 minutes, and I could answer it, but that's a good question, Li Ping.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Okay. You know what, let's take a few minutes. We'll pause the budget discussion for right now. We can do a quick vote on it later in the meeting when it needs to be finalized. And I'll just wait and see if the president of CEC 3 gets back to me. I'll just make one mention. The only thing, I won't go through all my president report that I had planned. I'll just say I have the meeting with the chancellor this Saturday. And so I heard everything everyone said tonight to the Office of District Planning. That's really good feedback for me to take to him. I will definitely take back the safety issues 1000%. But is there anything else that anyone wants? And including, you know, the chancellor, it's very important that, you know, the chancellor, the DOE, they're fighting a lot of battles at all times. And one of the battles they're fighting is from, you know, groups that do not like the expansion of G&T. And so the chancellor has asked for support from, you know, parents that like things that they're doing. And I do think that's important. So if there's anything else that anyone wants to say as something that they like that's going right in the system, I'll definitely bring our concerns. But it's also important to sort of build a relationship and let them know that there are some things we like. So if there's anything you guys have, either you can tell me now, you can email me later, but feedback we can give to the DOE about things that are going right and things that we don't like. because at these meetings, there's always a long list of things that people don't like. That's very, very common, and it should be. And I'll share, but so anyway, if anyone wants to say anything now or just later on, please do. The meeting's on Saturday for CEC presidents and the chancellor.
I would like to mention, I would like to know how is going to be the GNT, how curriculum will be like, what's the kids going to learn in the GNT, and what's different between GNT and in a regular school and when the citywide school.
I love it, Gata. That's a great question, because it goes from just, okay, let's expand GNT, great, but what does it really mean? Because if we're just expanding it and it's the same, what's the point? That's basically what you're asking, right?
Yeah, right.
Yep. Great. By the way, Gata, were you happy with your placement you got, the program you got?
Yeah, my son got the spot. I actually put him in the same school he is in.
Okay.
I put him in because I know if I put the citywide school, he doesn't gonna have a spot like what happened last year.
Okay. Li Ping, were you happy with yours? You were waiting too, right?
What?
Were you, do you have a child entering Gifted and Talented?
Yes, I get the result and I upset the online. I'm okay with that.
You're okay. Okay. All right. Let me check on this budget thing. Oh, he read my message, so he should be getting back to me. But we can start, let's start. So yeah, we can do the budget vote at the end when we vote on the bylaws. So the bylaws, right? This is our sort of conversation for tonight. And what I want to do is just have discussion about everyone get a chance to say give their opinions. And then at a certain point, we'll vote. The way these things work is you vote on each amendment, yes or no. And then at the end, you vote on the total bylaws as amended, and that's what gets approved and made our new bylaws. So does that make sense? So does anyone have anything to say? We had some emails today, as everyone saw, and does anyone want, I have some ideas, but I'm also happy to, what would work best? I mean, I'll suggest I could share the changes I proposed, and then I know Yona had some responses to that. Would it help if I put those up on the screen? Maybe I'll do that just to get this going here. And you can see the changes I have compared to the original, so it's very easy. And by the way, I only had like 3 changes. The vast majority I am totally fine with. Okay, let me do share screen. Okay. So this is the first, so basically the whole, at the beginning, everything is fine. You can see the bylaws, the template Jen started with, and then the stuff that she added is in gray. So everything in gray, Jen added, and all of this is fine. Does anyone want me to go over, we talked about Jen's proposed draft last month. Does anyone want me to go over her changes again? Okay, so then going down to my changes, this is the one on the holding meetings in facilities that are accessible to disabled. And this is, if we keep this in, this is my view, if we keep this in here, then there are 9 schools in the district that are not considered accessible. So we wouldn't be able to hold meetings in any of those schools. And the way that the the way that the state law is written now, the state law says public bodies like a CEC have to make their best effort to hold meetings in accessible buildings, but they don't have to. And so I just thought, let's keep our bylaws in line with the open meetings law. What I just described, the open meetings law is what I just described. And at least we will always try, when we go back to meeting in schools, we'll try to have it in schools that are accessible. But if, let's say for some reason, there's a really important issue at a school and we have to, we feel like we have to hold a meeting there, I think we should be able to. Because remember, we will also be holding meetings online, hybrid. So individuals who couldn't access the meeting at the school could join virtually. Does that make sense? And oh, got us back in the meeting. Any questions, opinions on that? So basically my proposal is take out this one line.
Sorry, my phone is switched off.
No problem, got it. Okay. Shall we, let's do this one at a time. I think that makes the most sense. So I'd like to call a vote to approve this amendment to the proposed bylaws. And we'll do a roll call vote. Let me just make a note of this. Amendment 1. So the vote is to approve this change. So if you're in favor of making this change, vote yes. If you don't want to make this change, say no. So I vote yes to make this change. And I'll go down, I'll call Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, I vote yes.
Okay. Marie.
Yes.
Going through who's here. Li Ping.
Yes.
Joyce.
Yes.
Gada.
Yes.
Yona. Yona's still here. I can't see right now, but does anyone see Yona?
Yes, I'm here, yes,
Hey,
sorry.
Yona, no problem. Maya.
Sorry, I agree.
Okay. So that amendment is approved. So the next change, and this is where it gets complicated, right? This is where we've had most of the email dialogue about. There's 3 changes, they're all visible right here. And we can take these, I think 2 of them are basically the same thing. The 2 paragraphs that have been eliminated are essentially the same thing, but we can vote on them. I propose we vote on those 2 together, and then we'll vote on the other one about the meeting time separately. I think I'm going to propose we vote on eliminating the meeting time, and we just hold a quick vote on that. I think that one should be pretty straightforward. But basically, this is just saying we're going to be starting the calendar meeting at 6 going forward. And then after the calendar meeting is done, we hold the business meeting. And instead of saying we have to start the business meeting right at 7, we just take out the time, and it lets us start the business meeting whenever we want to, including just having a very short 5-minute meeting and ending it. And so this goes back to saving time at these meetings, guys. If we start the calendar meeting at 6, let's say it goes till 9, we could just call it right there and not have to worry about the business meeting. But then now, as you know, we do the business meeting first. And so even if we have 5 minutes, we have to sit around for an hour and wait until 7. So I'm just going to propose, unless anyone wants to say anything about this. Does anyone want to say anything about this, or should we just move right to a vote to take out the 7 p.m.? Okay, so amendment 2 is to remove 7 p.m. And again, just voting to approve it. Steve, Stowe, I vote yes. Elizabeth? Elizabeth, are you there?
Yes, yes, I vote
Okay.
yes.
And Marie,
Yes.
Li Ping,
Yes.
Joyce,
Yes.
Gada,
Yes.
Yona,
Yes.
Maya?
Yes.
Great, thanks. Okay, so now amendment 3, let's call it the sort of the additional meetings amendment. So this is just the language in here that I mean, you guys can read it. It says, for example, for the calendar meeting, in the event there is unfinished business, the council may vote to schedule an additional calendar meeting on another day of the same month and may vote to schedule additional calendar meetings as needed. The public shall be notified of all calendar meetings as prescribed in Article 3, Section 1. So I will, you know, Jen obviously proposed this and emailed about it as well. And I'll just want to make sure everyone understands my view on this. The first point I want to make is that this special meeting, right? We already have a condition, we already have text in here. Every CEC is able to call special meetings whenever they want. And we can do that. Either the president can call a special meeting, or 3 members of the council can just get together, email the president, and request a special meeting. And the CEC has to hold it. So any time of month, if we think there's unfinished business or a very important issue, either myself or 3 members, 3 of you can call a special meeting. I just want to make that very clear.
Oh, I just want to have a question.
Yes,
With
please.
the special meeting, that doesn't count toward it. Does that, like, if we were absent with it, like, and will that be counted towards us? You know, like how we have a set number of meetings we're supposed to attend?
Great question. That may be in the bylaws, and that is a bylaw condition. Let's check that. That is a great question, Elizabeth. Member attendance at meetings. So no, you guys can all see this right here, right? Any
Yes.
council member, it's just calendar meeting. Yep, it's just the calendar meetings. So that's another reason we want to be careful about scheduling calendar meetings. If we schedule 2 calendar meetings in a month, there's a few things that could happen, right? Number one, you have the situation Elizabeth just pointed out, which is, you know, it requires all of us to be there. And this is more on us. A calendar meeting is more than just a special meeting. That's the point I'm trying to make, is that a calendar meeting has a different meaning than just a special meeting. And like Elizabeth just said, you don't have to be at a special meeting. The calendar meeting is where the superintendent attends. Would we then have 2 calendar meetings in a month? And it's you send out an email to everyone saying the second calendar meeting will be later in the month. Does superintendent have to show up to that one too? If the superintendent can't, you know, does that create an issue? And then the final point I'll just make is just planning these things. There's a lot that goes into setting these up, and it's administrative work, and you know, I will do it until we hire someone. But a big point I want to make is, remember, at some point we're going to be going back to meeting in schools. And so everyone will have, if we have 2 calendar meetings a month, everyone has to go back to meeting in person at the schools. And that's traveling to a different part of the district or something. So these are just things I think that should be considered, and I'll end it right here. My opinion is we have enough flexibility in the bylaws with special meetings. The calendar meeting is its own thing. It's designed to be once a month, and that's how I think it should stay. And basically everything I said applies to the business meeting as well. I'll leave it at that. Any questions? And please, anyone can discuss and disagree with me. It's totally fine.
So if we had a special meeting, we have to attend. If we didn't attend, so it's gonna be count as an absence?
No, only the calendar meetings. As it's written in the bylaws, members are responsible to attend regularly scheduled calendar meetings. You can see the section right here, and working business meetings. And any council member who fails to attend 3 regularly scheduled calendar meetings. So it's only the calendar meetings that we are required to attend, and that your attendance counts, Gata. So the special meetings are not the same standard. Anyone else thoughts on this?
Like we always receive a lot of different meetings, some meeting like at night or some meeting, I don't know, it's a lot. So I just can, if I don't want to attend it, I just forget about that. Is it right? Or I just need to only attending the calendar meeting?
Yes, Li Ping. And I think this is something that people should think about. Like, I understand these meetings run long. Like, we're at 9 o'clock right now, and it's all of us. It takes up time. But just think about, is it better to have it all in one night per month, or on different nights of the month? And I much prefer, personally speaking, I much prefer you get it done once a month. And I think it's going to improve. It will improve with these changes, right? Like we would be starting the calendar meeting earlier will be a big improvement over how it is now. There is another idea though, and I'm putting this out there. It's not what I want to do, but just so you guys know, some CECs have their business meeting on a different week and a different night. So we could have our calendar meeting on one week and then have our business meeting the next week. Some CECs do that. I still like getting it all done at once, but everyone can contribute to this conversation. I never want anyone to think they can't speak up.
I prefer one night for both, so we can focus more with the issues.
Yeah.
I prefer one night too, because we also have other things we can plan. So we just focus one night from the time from CEC, then next we can plan for our personals.
Right. Okay, if there's no other comments, I'll make a motion to approve this amendment, which would just remove these 2 sections. If you vote to approve the amendment and remove the sections, you vote yes. If you want to keep these sections in there, you could vote no. So Steve Stowe, I vote yes.
Elizabeth Chan, yes.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Marie?
Yes.
Li Ping?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Gata?
Yes.
Yona?
I'll go with a yes, but I expressed my opinion in the email, but yes.
Yeah, and Yona, feel free to vote no. It's totally cool.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to have a little additional info, you know? So I think I made my point. So
You
I'll
did.
go ahead with a yes.
And you did, and I appreciate you with the discussion in the email, Yona, very much. Maya?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. That is our last. So then now we will just vote. We have voted on the amendments, and now we will vote on the bylaws as a whole. Oh, there's one very, very small, stupid amendment at the very end. I just added one edit on our social media accounts. I specify the primary administrator of the social media accounts, not to be confused with any other accounts. Let's do a quick vote on this. Does everyone approve this amendment? I vote yes. Elizabeth?
What does it, what is it about though? I'm not really.
That's fair, Elizabeth. I shouldn't rush that one through. So this is the last section on under the code of conduct. Jen brought together our bylaws and our social media policy. They were both separate policies, and she brought them together. So now our social media policy is in the bylaws under code of conduct, which I think is a great idea. And this just talks about basically how content gets put up on our social media platforms, who is responsible for it, what kind of content can be there. And this whole paragraph right here talks about approval and who has the approval to put stuff up on the website and on the Facebook. And it basically says the administrative assistant is the primary person for that. And I just literally wanted to make it uniform. You can see how in this paragraph, it talks about social media account, and it talks about all social media accounts. So it's constant, it refers to it as social media accounts. And I just wanted to make it consistent in this paragraph. Does that make sense? And take your time to read this if anyone hasn't read this before. This was approved my last term in CEC. And I could talk a lot about this, but I won't because it's 9 o'clock, but unless anyone wants me to, but it was an issue in our last council. I would like us to become more active with posting on social media, but again, it's a time thing, and we need an administrative assistant in place who can run the process. Okay, I'm just going to call a vote, hearing nothing, to approve adding social media here. Steve Stowe, I vote yes. Elizabeth?
I abstain. Sorry.
No problem.
Abstain.
No worries. Marie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Li Ping?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Gada?
Abstain.
Sure. Yona? Yona, can you hear me? We'll go to Maya next. Maya, how do you vote on this?
Approve.
Thank you. And we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Yona, can you still hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes,
How do you want to vote on this last amendment?
that's fine. Yes.
Okay, great. So that amendment was also approved. So now we'll vote on all the bylaws. We'll to approve these as the new bylaws of CEC 20. And I really do, I wish Jen was here and I wish Jen would believe me, but I really do think it's great work on her part. And I think it's an amazing improvement over the last bylaws. So now we will vote to approve these as the new bylaws of CEC 20. So to approve these as the new bylaws of CEC 20, Steve Stowe, I vote yes. Elizabeth?
Yes.
Marie,
Yes.
Li Ping,
Yes.
Joyce,
Yes.
Gada, Gada, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry.
How do you vote? How do you vote on this, Scott, to approve all the bylaws?
Yes.
Finish this off. Thank you, Gada. Yona
Yes.
and Maya.
Yes.
Great. Thank you, everyone. So my friend or the president of CEC3 texted me back. We can now finish the meeting. We can vote on the budget. He texted me. So Li Ping, your question about transportation. He says it is for the administrative assistant to get to meetings with equipment. So for example, if we have hybrid meetings and the administrative assistant has to take an Uber and they have to transport a lot of equipment, they can charge it on, we can put a budget item in for that. Do people think that's something good to add to the budget?
Yes.
Yes,
I
I
believe it's
think.
good.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. So let's do transportation.
It will
And
be helpful for people if very far from the school. So it will be helpful.
I might, so Li Ping, I'm not sure if we can use it for members. I will check. I think it's for, remember, members reimbursement, it's childcare or broadband, and everything has to be approved, but I will check. I will check because it's worth asking, like late at night, especially, you're far from school. And so let's put something in for now. How much should we put in for now? Does anyone have a dollar amount they want to add there? Oh, let me share my screen again. Sorry, hold on a second. Where is my screen? Why can I not do this? Why is it going back and forth? Sorry, guys, 1 second here. Share screen. Okay. So anyone want to put out a dollar amount for transportation? This would be like 12 so CEC3 had $200 in there. If you have one hybrid meeting and you've got, so how much would that be for an Uber? Let's just do the math. So that would be $200 divided by 12 meetings, maybe $17 for an Uber. I don't know. That doesn't seem like too much.
I mean, can we go with like a $20, 2025 if possible? So that's
Let's do
more
it. Let's do it.
realistic.
Yeah, I think 25 is more reasonable because the price of Uber has gotten higher.
Yeah, it has. Let's do that's $300. And should we take it out of, does anyone want to recommend where we should take it out of? Again, this can always be moved around later. We just need to have, the one thing I do know is,
If it's only like 300, why don't you take it away from the reimbursement? It seems that we have a lot of money left over
Someone-
there.
that's right. Someone would have to volunteer giving up their amount for that.
Well, the next place then would be, if that's not, then the event also, we have a lot of remaining money. So,
Yeah,
unless we plan a big event.
I'll give up 300 of my reimbursement. I don't count. I usually don't take it, and it's not a big deal. So I'll give up 300 out of reimbursement. And so I'll just mark down officially. Actually, I did that wrong. Shame on me. So President, I have 2,100, and I'll probably give up the rest of that too at some point. So there's our budget for now. And let's just take one last look at CEC3's budget. Oh, I'm going to make a note of putting that stuff on the P card, meeting refreshments, office supplies. So I'm going to say, if possible, add to the P card, but we're not going to make that a separate budget item. Actually, I think office supplies, it's, okay, we'll put office supply. That's what they did. I'm just going to follow what they did. Okay. Okay. Does anyone have anything else for the budget, or can we vote to approve this and then end the meeting? Okay,
I'm good.
good. I will make a motion to approve the budget as it currently stands. If you approve the budget, say yes. Steve Stowe.
I approve.
Yes.
Elizabeth
Yeah.
Tang. Marie,
Yes.
Li Peng,
Yes.
Joyce,
Yes.
Gata,
Yes.
Yona,
Yes.
and Maya.
Yes.
Great. Thank you guys so much. That's done. We have, I'll just quick update. We have 2 candidates for the administrative assistant position that the DOE is approving and potentially approving, and we have to see if they'll accept the position. So just so you all know. And I'll leave it at that. Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Sorry, nobody signed up for open chat?
Yeah, if anyone has anything, absolutely.
Yes, hi.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's thank you so much. I completely forgot because it's 9 of us here. Richard, thanks for hanging around.
No problem. Can you give me 2 seconds? Let me turn on my camera. Give
Of
me 1
course.
second.
I'm so glad, Elizabeth.
No, yeah, it's not a problem. I was sometime going back and forth, so I would, I apologize if I missed you mentioning it.
I did not mention it. I looked at meeting participants 9, and I've just assumed it's been all CEC for the last hour.
No problem. All right.
Go ahead, Richard, please.
Yeah, give me 2 seconds. And just...
Sure. I'll make you a co-host. You're trying to share your screen?
Well, actually, yeah, that would be great, but I was trying to show a picture of something really quick. One of the District 20 tournaments that we did actually.
Oh,
So
cool.
give me 1 second.
Yeah, that would be great.
I haven't had a video, but I don't know what that is. I just got a new computer. Not that I don't know how to use it, but I haven't transferred because they want to hold your computer for like 3 days to like transfer everything.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, I have it now. I'll share my screen. Boom, I'm back now, and I'll let you see who I am. My name is... So good evening, everyone. My name is Richard Connolly. I'm the director of the American Debate League. And what we do is our mission is to help children become better thinkers, speakers, and leaders. And we believe, our core belief is that debate changes lives. So we work with schools, elementary, middle, and high schools throughout New York City, Long Island, Westchester, New Jersey, and hopefully soon to be Connecticut. And what we do is we work with them to create successful debate teams. We even work with some schools to do residencies so they can bring this to a class or one or two of their grades, especially in elementary and middle school. We've been doing this. So the reason why I came here, because we've had schools we work with in District 20. Matter of fact, BSI, this might be their 7th or 8th year with us. Because I keep forgetting pandemic, you got to add 3 years to everything. So about 7 years. And just so you know, I'll go a little out of order. We've been planning to take them to Harvard right before that. We actually did take one of the top students to Harvard the February 2020. You believe that? And we took them to Harvard. But this year they competed and they have the #2 speaker out of Harvard in the middle school division. And they really did well. So I'm going to be coming back to the CEC because by the time we would have had it, it was the end of the year. I'm letting you know now, would love to have it, whether September, October, to have the CEC recognize them. And not just that one team that went to Harvard. This has been a culminating effort. BSI has been winning, doing well. Matter of fact, does anyone ever heard of Tag Young Scholars? And yeah, there's another talented and gifted. We work with them. And right before the pandemic, we had them face each other. It was like the battle of the talented, so Brooklyn School of Inquiry versus TAG. So we're looking to go back. We had 187 this year. I think it's 220, whatever John Persian is. That's either 220. It is 220.
220, yeah.
PS 48. We've even worked with PS 112. We actually did the class thing. IS 30 and 112 actually right after before the pandemic. You know, a lot of schools didn't return after that. But 187, BSI, and we're looking to do more. So what I was going to share with you is, let me show you. This is a picture. I don't know if you could see it, of the District 20 debate league or circuit, we call it. So see, these are from all the schools, the top kids from the schools. This is in BSI's gym with the American Debate League. So we always had about 2 tournaments. The principal Havlic's been a wonderful gentleman. And before that, we actually started, I don't know if you know, Donna Taylor was the original principal of BSI. We worked with her, started, and then when Principal Havlic came. So what we want to do is make sure, now that we're going back live, we try to get those schools we worked with before. We have about 4 we're doing now. Some 20 schools are reaching out to me. I was looking to meet the superintendent. I've never met your new superintendent. Obviously, I met Deputy Sue O'Brien because I knew the old Sue. But I'm looking to meet your new Sue because we want to challenge him, because you know he came from District 4, right? And that's where TAG is from. So when I speak to them, they're like, challenge accepted. They want BSI TAG to go against each other and just the districts anyway. So that's what we would love to do, which we're going to be emailing, I think, next week to your schools again. If the CECs would like to email it, because we're going to send it to you. Many CECs or SUPs also send it, because sometimes they don't open it if they don't know us, but it'll be from the American Debate League, and I'll ask them to join the Brooklyn debate circuit. We used to call it the District 20 with the old superintendent, but I haven't spoken to this new superintendent yet. And we're really hoping to work with debate. And we've been working with your district about 7 years now. So many people know, I know the other gentleman, Mr. McLaren, I think it is, who was on. So yeah, so that's what I wanted to say. I'll put my email in the chat. I would love to see if we can, and we also like to be community partner. So if you have events in the district, science fairs, this, that, history fairs, different things. We're even at book bag giveaways. I was actually in District 4 today in East Harlem at a giveaway with one of the council members. So we try to do our part to be active in the community as well.
Great.
Yeah, and last thing I'll say is behind me, see all those students right there? That's at Queens College. 2019 and before, we have a summer camp, and your kids have traveled from Bay Ridge, from everything, to come to Queens College for us. Now, it's funny, in 2020, we were going to go summer 2020 to Brooklyn College. Obviously, that didn't work. We're looking at doing Brooklyn College this summer. So students from Brooklyn can go to Brooklyn College for a debate camp instead of there. And then lastly, again, BSI this year in person Harvard, and we're trying to build some of the other middle schools we work with to eventually, if not this year, next year, go to Harvard. We get a charter bus, the schools go up and compete against the top kids in the nation, because they come from about 30 different states and about 5 countries to compete, even in middle school.
Got it. That sounds great. Amazing program.
Yes, thank you. So I'll stop. Yeah, go ahead.
Put the email, our email. Yeah, you can send it to the CEC email. I just put that in the chat, and please send along the information, because we love hearing about programs like this that, you know, could benefit kids in the district. You know, it's
yes,
you're right. We can lobby for this if the administration either hasn't noticed it or hasn't seen it or whatever.
I haven't had the pleasure. I've been speaking to Mr. O'Brien, because I actually never met him, because Mr. O'Brien was the interim, I think, or acting, I'm not sure the terminology. And then Dr. Prio came.
Yeah.
And that's, so I never had a chance to meet him.
Got it.
So, but thank everyone. And this is great. I love District 20.
Great. Thanks. Good to hear from you, Richard.
Thank you.
Thanks for hanging around till the very end.
Okay.
Okay. Any other council members? I'll adjourn the meeting unless anyone else has any comments or issues they want to raise. Cool. Motion to adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. See everyone again, September 14th. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
So what's going on?
Oh, September 14th is in person or?
It might be, yeah, it might, as of right now, it's going to be in person. It's going to be in person. Let's wait and see if that changes.
So if in the person, you will send us the location?
Of course. And it will be hybrid. So it will be we need at least 6 people in person, but some people can still do remote.
So who have that special?
I know. You Li Ping, do you want this? Li Ping, I want you to be in person every single meeting. I'm kidding. We can talk about that. It's fine.
Good night.
I want to be in a Zoom.
Good night, Gata. Thank you, Gata.
Thank you too. Thank you for all.
Yeah.
Bye.
We can.
Okay, thank you. What do you say? Okay, go ahead.
We'll talk about this later. First, I want to wait and see what the government does. They might keep pushing this back. Like every month, they keep extending it. But I think there's a good chance we might be hybrid in September. I would say 50% chance, I think. And that's more than I thought for August. You know what I mean? So we have to wait and see. But if we are hybrid, I'll list everyone this is what I'll do. I'll ask everyone. I think there might be rules about exemption. I have to check. I don't want to say anything right now. I have to check the DOE regulations and see what they say, because I don't want to say something that I can't do. You know what I mean?
Because monkeypox is a New York City emergency now, right?
I guess so. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, so I think I think that's what kind of like COVID, like it's a pandemic kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think we should kind of try to push for the Zoom again.
I mean, it's not up to me. It's the governor of the state of New York.
Oh, but New York City is a state of emergency for monkeypox because of the rising cases. So I'm just saying, it lives on surfaces up to 15 minutes. So I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
So it might not even be up to the state. It's like a pandemic kind of resolution, like for all of us, a safety issue for parents.
No, I understand, but the state will trump the city. The state, if the state says you're doing this, the city has to do it. I'm just saying where the decision is made. The decision is made by the governor.
Okay, well, I'm just letting it.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Do our CEC have right to vote for the meeting for the virtual or in person? Do we have that vote for that?
We can lobby. Yeah, I can tell the chancellor that a lot of my council members prefer virtual.
I think they need to know our voice. I think we all need to want the virtual meeting, but they need to hear our voice. It's
right.
Not, they say we need to in person, but we all don't want in person. Who want? Nobody heard our voice. This is. I think we have right for that.
I can tell. Well, I can tell you, Li Ping, and all of you that are still here. I can tell you, I've been to many meetings with the chancellor and other CEC presidents, and a lot of them want to keep doing virtual. So it's not. Don't worry. It's well known. This all has to do with the state law, right? The state law says elected officials have to meet in person. And so unless there's a change to the state law, the pandemic, COVID, made a temporary change, right? But to change the law permanently is a big deal. but they know, believe me, like this has made them rethink. But again, the law that was already passed says meetings will be hybrid once the pandemic ends. So that's the current law. So anyway, I'm just telling, I understand where you guys are coming from, and I'll say many members I know, and I think virtual makes sense because you get more parents. Like I used to go to the in-person meetings before the pandemic, and it was just even, you know, it was like this meeting tonight is because it's August and no one is around in August, but we would have meetings in the middle of the school year and there would be like 10 people in the room, and it's just, you know, it's so much better to do virtual, have that option. But I do think in person also matters. I like the chance to connect with the schools and the communities and leadership in person. But again, this is an issue. We make our voice heard, Li Ping, we absolutely do, but it's higher than the city. It's higher than the chancellor. It's the governor. So.
And I have one more question.
Yeah, of course.
You say for the 300 for the local transportation. So how gonna be happen? How gonna be do? Like if I take a Uber, so I show you receipt or what?
No, Li Ping, I don't think members can use transportation, but I will check. You understand? I've heard about in my year on the CEC, I've heard about it. The administrative assistant can use transportation, but not members. I've never heard of that. So I will check. But I don't think you should plan on that.
Yeah, because the reimbursement for the member monthly cap is 125. That's including the transportation.
It's a good idea. I'm going to mention it. I'm going to say we think transportation should be added. Childcare, broadband, transportation. It's a good idea. I will bring it up. It's a good idea. Anything else?
No, we're good. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Have a good night. All right.
Good night.
Talk soon.